Welcome back to another week here on Instigating with Clarkie and Drury. I'm Drury, and I'm joined by Clarkie, and we're very pleased to be joined by one of our great friends and a very special guest, longtime coach of the Listowel Cyclones and a multiple Cherry Cup winner, a Sutherland Cup winner, and an OHL coach as well back in the day with my now Guelph Storm. Let's not forget that. Jason Brooks is on the line. Brooksy, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. We know we've been trying to get you on for a couple weeks. Our schedules have kind of conflicted, but we finally have you on. I know Clarkie's excited. He's got the Leaf hat on. I'm surprised you don't have one on. And I know he's so excited to finally get you on here and get a coach's perspective on the latest round of What's Wrong with the Maple Leafs, our favorite game show. And Brooksy, I don't know what your opinion is as we kind of delve into, I don't know how concerned maybe people should be, but based on their history and what they've not done, are you super concerned about the third period blown leads and some of the little knee scrapes they've had over the last little bit here?
I would say, yeah, I'm concerned as a Leaf fan that we're seeing history repeat itself a little bit here in the sense of their lack of defensive acumen. Getting leads going into the third period, you've got to be a team that can shut the door. You know, you can't put it all on Campbell. I think Jack Campbell's played exceptional this year for the expectations of having him come in as an unknown, really, as a starter, and I think he's exceeded those expectations. But you know, you see things on the back end, whether you want to criticize the Jake Muzzins of the world, who I know is out injured, or the Justin Halls of the world, but you know, let's call a spade if we're focusing on Justin Hall and Travis Dermott as guys that are the difference or the reason for breakdowns. I think we have bigger issues in Toronto. Up front, I'm not going to go on a big rant about up front because I think it's the same stuff we've talked about. You know, I think every Leaf talk I've been fortunate enough to come on here with you, I say the same darn things. You know, some of the players I find are more focused on individual successes and making highlight reel plays instead of making simple plays for wins. And, you know, teams need to buy into that simple game plan to win a Stanley Cup. And, you know, whether you're playing Colorado, who's a great team right now in the standings, and put up, you know, the periods like they did, but first two periods they dominated. In the third period, Colorado comes storming back, and you can use excuse and say, well, it's fans in the stands or whatever was the reasoning. I mean, you can't let those situations happen. You got to continue to push the envelope and play your game, but you got to make smart choices. And in the last, 5 games, whatever it's been, of giving up third period leads, I mean, you see the same mistakes over and over and over.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't understand it, because they were like 17-0 when leading after 2 when all this started. And like, besides the obvious and what you just pointed out about guys just wanting to go for the home run or whatever the case may be, is it a fact that they just don't have the horses to get the job done here, to run the race? And do they have to make a move? And who would be on the top of your list? Let's start naming some guys that we got to trade out of this team. Like, I have my list, and Mitch Marner's at the top of it.
You know what, Clarkie? I have the same affinity for Mitch Marner as you do. I think, you know, what really sold it for me was when he was out there with his shoulder / whatever, and Austin Matthews plays with Bunting and Kasha, who I know he played with last night again.
Yeah.
But he took off. He took off and, you know, started to score goals and look like the all-world player that, you know, everybody sees him as, and he dominated. Like, he was fantastic. The power play clicked. Now, again, last night it clicks with 3 goals, so it almost feels like a moot point to say take Marner off and the power play's just as good, but arguably it could be just as good.
And it was when he was out. It was good. So
he to me gives you that player that makes huge salary, that if you could flip to bring in a salary back, that would be the guy. I don't know who the right guy is, though. If it's a defenseman, you know, the names that are thrown around are like Klingberg out of Dallas. Is he the guy though that's going to be what we need to see the Leafs move on around in the playoffs? I'm not sure.
Mhm. No, I don't think so. I don't think he's the guy you trade Marner for. That's for sure. I think you got to hit a home run.
You would need a lot more back if it's Klingberg. And I mean, I know teams are sniffing around him. Like you said, Brooks. Yeah, I know Carolina's sniffed around the Rangers. But I mean, the intriguing thing with him would be the cap hit at 4.25 for the rest of the year. But I mean, Marner, as much as I understand that segments of Leaf Nation, and you guys included it, and me as well. I mean, I don't think that he's a perfect hockey player, but he is an incredibly talented point producer, which is the hardest thing to find.
Yeah.
Other than a big shot defenseman. And
how many points does he have? How many points does he have in the playoffs? And how he went 101 games or whatever it was without a power play goal.
And we talked about that.
Why don't you just rebound off your ass in 101 games?
It's unacceptable for someone earning that amount of money to not score on the power play in a season, a season and a quarter. I think the Edmonton Oilers and the Leafs are a perfect trading partner right now. We need one of their two guns.
Okay, Marner, let's make a big
trade down. You lay a trade down for me then, and you let Brooksy tell you what he thinks of that.
I'm not going to say McDavid and Marner are going to be involved in a trade.
Yeah, you can't say that.
I won't say that.
Pump the brakes.
I just did. But McDavid, there's no question in my mind. This guy is not staying in Edmonton when his contract's up. In what, 2 years or 3 years?
No, he's got another 4 years, I think.
Frustrated. He had one more year.
I understand that.
Than Matthews. But it just seems like they would be a perfect trading partner. I don't know who, but there's something there. But now they have added Evander Kane to their list. So I'm sure he is the savior. But let's talk about that later. I don't know. I don't know who the answer is for Mitch Marner, but they have to hit a home run. They have to get a huge name back. And a guy, because you're right, Mitch Marner's going to put up points for the rest of his career.
Here's the thing, though. I understand, and Brooksy, this is why I'm glad you're on the show this week, because I think that fans, and we're all guilty of it when it comes to players, certainly, especially of Mitch Marner's ilk, are very focused on just reading stats when a guy makes a bunch of money and saying 8 million, 9 million, 10 million. You better have 85 plus points, and you don't, well, that player sucks then. I think that when you're talking about the adjustments that we all think the Leafs need to make in terms of going to that next level, in terms of that pushback, that grit, to push themselves over the hump in the playoffs, Brooksy, does it need to be a massive star player coming back for Mitch Marner, or does it need to be guys that maybe aren't necessarily massive stars in return, but a package that involves guys that could help you in different facets of your game? Like if you trade Mitch Marner, say, and you got a pretty good top four defenseman, a guy who's a really, really elite penalty killer, not a guy that puts up a bunch of points, but a really solid defensive center. And, you're probably looking at some picks potentially. I don't know. It depends on the trade partner. Does it need to be a big flashy name coming back the other way? Because let's be honest, the Leafs have those. They have those already, Brooksy.
Yeah, and it's a great question, because when you're making trades as a general manager, there's always that short-term success, right? You get the players that you're talking about, those types of players to come in this year. And if they were, say, of the lesser superstar value, but you created a winning environment for the year, and the Leafs happen to get through, 2 rounds or 3 rounds, or happen to do something that nobody expects them to do and win the Stanley Cup with a trade like that, is it worth it? Right? Because to both you, Ryan and Clarkie's point, Mitch Marner is going to score. Mitch Marner is going to produce. And as much as I can sit here and say I would move Mitch Marner, truth be told, you're not moving Mitch Marner. Like, I just don't, unless you're going to get rid of Kyle Dubas, you're not moving Mitch Marner.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the tough part, because we are all in agreement that you have to move somebody to bring in pieces that are needed.
Yeah.
But to find the right piece, the right chemistry, like, what would it cost to get Ben Sherratt And I say that because there's a defenseman who
Absolutely. Yeah.
is a proven defenseman in the playoffs last year. He was a warrior with Montreal. He banged, he crashed, he kept the game simple.
And a guy Montreal's going to trade as a UFA. They're going to trade him.
Totally.
Right.
He's the most tradable guy on their team.
Yeah. And he will command
what's
the
the
biggest ticket probably.
Yeah.
What is that ticket to Toronto?
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know.
Hey, I'm not a general manager. I'm like any fan. I'll play armchair GM here for you on your guys' behalf. Let me know what you think of this. If I'm Montreal,
who are you asking for?
I'm probably asking for Timothy Liljegren and maybe a 3rd or 4th round pick. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable price to pay. If it's Dermott, I want a 2nd round pick because I think that Liljegren's upside and for what Montreal is going to try and build over, let's be honest, a 4 or 5 year period here. It's going to take them a while to shed some of the salaries that are on that team.
Yeah.
And not that they don't have players that teams would be interested, but look at the length of deals.
Okay, I'll give you a second, but you need to take Nick Ritchie. We'll retain some of his salary, but you need to take Nick as well. So Dermott,
the deal,
Ritchie, and a second, and we'll retain a little salary as much as we can to get Sherrod in the lineup. There you go. How's that?
I don't hate that trade. I don't hate that trade at all. Brooksy,
Okay,
what do you think? Should we email Kyle Dubas or what?
There's no way.
If it sounds good, it's probably too good, right? From our perspective.
From a Leaf fan. Exactly. I think they're going to want a Mikheyev or someone like that.
I don't disagree. I mean, you're in the same boat, though. Are you going to be able to retain him next year if you're
right? He's a free agent too. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mikheyev's a free agent.
Valuable piece.
Oh, absolutely. Like he's proven that he is a valuable 3rd line guy, a guy that you can slide up into the top 6 when there's injury issues or, it's the 3rd period and you got to throw your lines in a blender. He can skate well. He can finally shoot and score on a breakaway every now and again. He's proven that. And he does have pretty solid hockey IQ. I rarely watch him play and think, boy, what a boneheaded play by Mikheyev. Yeah, I think that would be an acceptable piece. But really,
Montreal would want to sign him before they get him too.
For sure. And it could be a sign and trade. And if Mikheyev, I know a lot of people get uppity about, Ben Sherrod, he's just a one-dimensional guy. Yeah, it's dimension.
That's what they need, though.
Don't have enough of. And if Ilya Mikheyev is going to be the type of player that makes you balk at trades to improve something that you need, then you're valuing guys a little too highly because as much as I think he is a useful player, what the hell has Ilya Mikheyev done to make you go, boy, the Leafs just have to keep him? What for?
It's funny, Ryan. It's funny, though. The one thing that, to that point that you're saying, when you lose a player like Zach Hyman, and everybody in the hockey world, well, not the hockey world, but Leaf fans at the time were probably in the beginning going, "We have good riddance," and now he's gone, and you're going, "Oh, I wish we had that rock, that battler, that penalty killer, right? The heart and soul guy every night." And could Mikheyev turn into that? Could he be that guy that? And whether or not he produces more or not, who knows, right? At the end of the day. What's his value going to be? Now, if he's going to ask for an astronomical increase, then maybe it's an easier flip than you think. But then maybe you're looking at a bigger trade when you talked about Klingberg, or we talk about Klingberg in Dallas. Maybe you're piecing Mikheyev and Robertson's brother and, these guys that are a little bit younger that you might say, well, let's piece it. And maybe it is a Liljegren then in that. But, is there something else you could get back out of Dallas that could help? Make it a bigger trade, Clarky, kind of thing.
It's a valid point, right? Well, yeah. I mean, again, we're just playing armchair GM here, but I mean, Brooksy, you had a lot of success coaching the Cyclones and took them through a very, very tough league, and you spent a long time, let's be honest, a long time, a lot of hours in the rink, building up a group of young men, and you went out and you targeted players to be part of that organization and took them to another level. And that's something that I think the Leafs are trying to do. And we're into what? Year 5, 6? Next year will be, I think, 7 of this all or nothing skill development all power up front experiment that they've tried, because that's what I'll call it. A team with their salary structure has never won a Stanley Cup before. And there's a lot to be said about the merits of the salary cap. But you went out there and did a similar thing where you had a targeted approach of the type of players that you wanted and the type of team that you wanted to coach. And you went and got those guys. And ifs and buts, like you said, Brooksy, is a good point here, because we can talk all we want about getting Ben Sherratt or Klingberg or Nick Ritchie didn't work or trade Mikheyev. At the end of the day, and Brooksy, you and I talked about this, funnily enough, the year you guys won the Sutherland Cup. It was the same year my Caps finally did it. Your best players have got to be your best players, and they got to be your best players in all three zones. So it really doesn't matter to me how much shuffling they do in terms of the rest of the lineup. Those big guys, Tavares, Matthews, Marner, as long as he's there, and Nylander, they have got Morgan Rielly, throw him in there. He's a part of the core. And of course, Jack Campbell is the goalie. If those guys aren't the best players 98% of the time in the playoffs, which, let's be honest, last year, barring Nylander, they weren't, you will not win. It doesn't matter if on your third and fourth line or your second and third D pair, Brooksy, you know this, that you have the greatest grinded out checking line ever. I don't care if you have Sammy Paulson in the 2007 Anaheim Ducks. If your big guys don't do it, you will not win. And that's the frustrating part, because you've got all these $10, $11 million guys, and if they don't do it and carry the anchor, the boat's going to sink again.
That's a great point. I wasn't going to say I'd compare our Cyclone teams to the Maple Leafs, but
well, you were more successful.
But to your point on using us as your comparable and getting players that fit what we were trying to do, biggest thing was finding guys that could read the game and make adjustments. And I came on this show last year with you guys after the playoffs, after the Leafs lost to the Canadiens, and we talked specifically about adjustments. Now, the adjustments have to come, obviously, from the coaches. Sheldon Keefe has got to make the adjustments. But, Ryan, you just spoke about the Leafs. They play a puck possession game. They play a skilled game, right? And in the playoffs, is that going to prove to be successful? There are teams that play possession hockey, but they play dump and chase just as well, right? Like, we talk about the Boston Bruins, talk about St. Louis, right? Teams that play a puck possession game, but still can play an old school dump and chase and bang and crash and get it back, pound on some defensemen to make mistakes, right? Get them to back off the line, and then you use your skill. But if you're going to constantly try to force pucks over the line and over the line and over the line, something's not going to happen for you successfully, and that's what was proven last year in the playoffs. Are they going to make those adjustments this year? Right?
Have you seen anything that would allow you to think that they may? Have you seen anything from so far this season that Sheldon Keefe can make those adjustments throughout a game?
Well, I'm not going to say Sheldon Keefe can't make the adjustment, because that's not.
Sorry, or the players are refusing to do it, right?
But to see it, what they've done in games, no, you see them sticking to their guns, that this is how we play. We're going to play that puck possession game and swing back, and like even the power play. Like last year, we talked about how brutal the power play was. Going down the stretch and into the playoffs, and then in the playoffs. I mean, has anything changed in the power play?
Well, they're first in the league, though. They're first in the league with a 30% power play right now.
But that breakout, has that breakout ever changed? Where they skate up, they throw it back, they play catch, they get in. So what happens in the playoffs? Like, what's the adjustment going to be? Well, we're going to just put it our second unit because they just pound pucks to the net and we score. Like, or they dump it in and they do let Mikheyev and those guys run after it. But that's what you have to do sometimes. Yeah. Right? To get pucks back. And I don't know. Those are the little things that you see. It's the same thing at the start of the year, Clarky. We were talking about how good the Leafs defensive team play was. Their goals against were way down. Jack Campbell wasn't giving up third period goals. And They seem to be taking care of the puck and making simple plays.
So what's going on? What's going on lately? Like, they're still a pretty good hockey team. They're still top 7 in the league. Like,
oh, no doubt, they're a good team.
But they're just something's off.
Yeah, it's a great question, because I go back to Ryan talking about the Caps winning that cup in 18 and getting over that hump and watching Ovi play. And I know I used to bash him to Ryan, I think sometimes just to get his goat. But the truth be told, Ovi made simple plays in that playoff. Ovi would dump pucks in. He would go in for check. He'd lay the body. He even blocked shots and paid a price. And to Ryan's point, the best player on their team was the best player.
Mm-hmm.
And when your best players lead by example night in and night out and do the little things and the dirty work and, pay a price,
yeah,
everybody else gets on board.
And we heard it this week with Sheldon Keefe in his comments after a game saying they're playing soft.
I wanted to ask you about that, Brooksy. First of all, what was your opinion, being a longtime Leaf fan and watching specifically this core? What was your opinion of Keefe's comments that night after that Rangers loss? And what was your opinion of him walking the comments back the following day? Because I thought personally that was just as soft. Your thoughts?
Well, again, never being in an NHL room to speak, because again, these players make a lot more money than Sheldon Keefe at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
And he's got to get them to buy in and play every night and believe in what he's selling. The soft comment, I think, is a farce, because truth be told, I think they play that soft style all the time. They're not a gritty team. They're a skilled team. I would say the purposeless, playing with no purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought that's how they played that game. I thought they played with arrogance and it was like, oh, well, you know what? It is what it is. It's just a night. We lost a game, so be it. They didn't play that game with any meaning, right? And that, I understand seasons are long, road trips are long, even with the Bees, and again, totally different scenario, but you're not going to be perfect every night. But it's a culture, right? And I question the culture they have. And you don't have to win every game, but you have to believe you're going to win every game. Even when you play your worst hockey, you can find ways to compete, right? Yeah, there's going to be nights where it's junk. But to come out and say they were soft and played with, what was it, purposeless, I think that's just venting. That's just venting frustration, because again, how many third period leads were gone? You've been clicking along, and here's another loss, and this one was really bad, right? Like this, we didn't get a point, we didn't get anything out of it. The Bruins are starting to creep up our backside here. I think he started to realize maybe there's a little bit more to those games, right? And meaningful games, and come back and you have to play Anaheim, and what they show? They pounded them. What shots? Like statistically, it was a dominant performance.
Yeah,
dominant performance. And if you take Engvall's goal away on himself, they win that game. 3-2. But the worst part is you start tightening up as a team, right? Now in third periods, I don't know who all listens to your show, but I always talked about your butthole puckering up in the third period if you're up a goal or two and that clock's ticking, and right, every play matters, and you start squeezing your stick. And sometimes I think they got to squeeze their sticks a little bit more because they got to make it matter, or you want them to make it matter. But
see, and that's what scares me, is this pattern that's happening right now, where you can just see they're squeezing the sticks again in the third period, which they hadn't done for the first half of the year, because there's pressure on them and they can feel it. Well, if there's pressure on them now not to blow a third period lead, how are they ever going to get through a first round of the playoffs with that kind of pressure?
Well, and you're preaching to the choir on that one. I think that's perfectly said. But that comes back to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I think that comes back to Sheldon. I think that's going to come back a little bit to Kyle. They have to have a cockiness about them and a swagger about them and a belief about them. And then I'm going to use the word again, guys, team culture. Because if you have a belief in how you play, and even if it's not going perfectly, you still will find ways to succeed because you believe in what you do, and that game plan and that culture is what it's all about. And every play's got to matter, right? Like, and that's without gripping your stick, Clarky, but every play's got to matter. That every decision you make, has an outcome.
Yeah.
It might be a victory just to get the puck over the blue line, but that's okay. We reset and we refocus and move to the next play. And
yeah,
it's almost like these guys want to make that play. And I use that term home run, but they don't just make a simple play. They look to hit the breakaway pass, or they look to hit something where they just can't seem to simplify. Right. And sometimes it's just simple hockey that needs to be done. And how do you get that? I think that's still in the leadership.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because at the end of the day, and we heard it after the season and another failure in the playoffs, and last year was that docu-series, the All or Nothing Amazon Prime series, and you heard guys leading up to the Game 7 and then afterwards, including Mitch Marner, who's much maligned on this show today, saying, we still believe in each other. We believe in this group. And Kyle Dubas said the same thing. I know these guys are good enough. We're going back to the wall with them. And I think it comes down to what you just said, Brooksy, where I think, and I certainly think this of Mitch Marner, I think that they get so in their own head about how good and skilled they are that they think that we're trailing in the third period, say, and it's Game 5 or 6, maybe Game 7, and I'm the big star guy. I have to make an unbelievable play here and justify my existence in a way. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but that's how it looks to me sometimes based on the decisions they make. It's not a simple little chip and chase play. It's a spinorama at the blue line and he falls down and they lose the puck and the other team goes the other way. You waste a shift, or you don't go after that puck. You let the defenseman get there first because you don't want to take that hit and you want to live to fight another day, but there might not be another day. And I understand that they have a lot of belief in their skill, and that's great. That's a great thing to have, that self-belief and that swagger you talked about. But in a 7-game max series, if you just keep going, well, eventually these fancy plays will work. Eventually these fancy plays will work because they worked on a Tuesday night against Arizona in January. That's not what's going to happen against a team that will adjust against you over a week and a half over those 7 max games. And we saw Montreal do it to them, and we've seen Boston do it to them. And I mean, I hate to keep referencing Washington. It's my easiest recall because I'm a fan of the team. But when they went down 2-0 to Columbus, I was almost in tears after that. I thought, they're going to do this to me again. And Ovechkin came out and made that Messier-esque comment and said, I can't wait to come back for Game 5, and we're going to win, and we're going to win this series. And a lot of people in the past, certainly past Caps teams, would have taken that and been like, oh my God, now I've got to be perfect tomorrow. We've got to win this game. And he went out and set that tone. I thought that might have been his probably second best performance of that playoff run. He came out in that Game 3, and on the first shift, he destroyed Matt Duchene, won a puck battle, and on his next shift, he scored. He was a monster that night. And there's that infamous meeting that we read about after in the Washington Post after Game 2, because of course you'll remember Grubauer took over Holtby's net. He was the hot guy down the stretch. Braden Holtby didn't start that playoff run, and they went down 2-0, and Holtby went into Barry Trotz's office and allegedly said something to the effect of, if you put me in the net tomorrow, we will win this series. And that's a guy that had been through some of the worst heartbreaks in the franchise's history. All the Pittsburgh losses, the Rangers, all of it. And I don't know if there's guys on the Leafs right now that have the gumption to take that upon themselves and switch up how they play.
It's funny listening to you talk about Washington, and I'm racking my brain, but it was Scotty Bowman's book talked about Steve Yzerman when he went to Detroit, and all those great Detroit teams, and we think about all the wins and Stanley Cups that they had, but there was a lot of losses with some great talent.
Oh.
And Scotty finally sat Stevie Y down and said, you've got to change your game. It's not all about Stevie Y scoring goals and points and everything else. It was about doing the little things. And I think Toronto needs a little bit of both. I think they need somebody to sit Mitch Marner down to be Steve Yzerman and say, look, we know you're a great player. We know you're an $11 million man, but be a leader by doing the little things right, and then you need a little bit of that swagger that you just talked about Ovi had, and that Messier type comment to say, look, somebody get on my back, whether it's Matthews or I don't know if Tavares has got the legs anymore. I know he's got the heart and the character to do it, but hop on my back and let's go here and do it the right way, and we'll get this done together. Yeah, you need somebody like that, but look in that room, and I'm looking at you, Clarky, look in that room and tell me who is that guy, and I don't know if they've got it.
The guy who pops into my mind might be a Jason Spezza type guy to be
I
able
was
to
just going to say
sit
that.
him down and do that. But like Brendan Shanahan, where's he? Like, there's got to be a time where that guy's got to, maybe he has already. We don't know, right? We have no idea. But they have a couple of guys that could do it, but I don't know. Brooksy, can you watch a game as a fan, or are you too in coach mode when you're watching it?
And
That's a great question.
My wife hates watching hockey with me and the kids because now, or the kids and I've got them now analyzing the games too. And
I would love to watch a game. The three of us need to watch a game because I want to learn. I want to learn from what
Absolutely.
a coach watches during a game because I know it's different than what I watch. We need to figure that out one night.
The problem is, though, Clarky, is when I watch the Leafs, sometimes I throw the coach out the window and I just curse like a fan. So
Oh no, I do that too.
Oh,
That's totally
You
fine.
don't think that gentleman does that?
That's totally fine.
Let me
It's all
tell
good.
you. Oh,
I got a
hey,
96-inch screen here. We can watch it.
I'll tell you what. I broke a few dinner plates back in the day.
I've never done that.
Okay. I didn't do it on purpose, but there were a couple instances where I might have kicked a table or two over and my dad was not very happy. I used to get a little too animated. Imagine that, me animated. Brooksy, we could talk about the Leafs all day, and we're going to do that. We're going to watch a game together. We absolutely have to do that. I am curious because Clarky did reference it earlier. It's basically confirmed they've got a verbal agreement. It sounds like Evander Kane is going to be an Edmonton Oiler, sounding like it's going to be a $2 million prorated salary. I would love your opinion on this because, again, coaching with the success you have and the amount of different personalities that you've had in your rooms over the years. I mean, you're managing. There's 22 guys that you got. They're not all the same. He's certainly a bit of an outlier, and it's fine to be a different personality, but just some of the things, like everywhere you go, all you read about from former teammates and former place he was couldn't wait to get rid of him. Bad guy, which is like a death omen, hearing that in the hockey world. When someone says you're a bad guy, a bad teammate, which has happened. Former Stanley Cup champion Dustin Byfuglien was not a fan of this guy. He threw his suit in the shower in Winnipeg. Like, when you look at some of the unfortunate things that this young man has gotten himself tangled up in, I mean, I know Edmonton's desperate, but is this the answer? I mean, would you make this move?
Well, probably not bringing in somebody with so many negatives beside their name as far as the off ice and in the room and all those sorts of things. The chemistry is so important to your team, and if you're going to uproot it, with an individual that has maybe a bit of a shady history, I think is the best way to say it. It's not necessarily positive, but to your point, it reeks of desperation. And, as a group, we could sit here and draw circles around what are the areas of concern in Edmonton. Well, secondary scoring. So Ken Holland feels that maybe he gets Evander Kane. He finds a spark offensively, right, to give him some secondary scoring. Then you would weigh the pros and cons of that. Like, the cons are what you just talked about. Is it worth it? I don't know, but they are in such a free fall, right?
Yeah.
But does he give him does Evander Kane, we're talking about trades with the Leafs, does Evander Kane signing in Edmonton allow Ken Holland to maybe move a piece out to acquire a goalie? To you know what I mean? Like, I'm just spitballing here
absolutely.
because there's got to be some sort of chain reaction to doing something like this, because your goaltending has been in question. Koskinen is, obviously not the guy. Smith hurt, and the young Skinner is, COVID or whatever else he had, and you just don't know. You need some goaltending in there, and Clark, you're right. Connor McDavid's not going to want to stay in Edmonton if they continue to, be busting out kind of thing. So,
yeah, it's a hard thing. I just don't know anymore, because we've seen this guy score 30 goals before and be an effective offensive weapon, but he has, and like, let's just call a spade here. He's brought this on himself. Like, this isn't anybody else's fault based on what we know of the things he's been in trouble with and the unfortunate things that we've seen unravel on social media from his personal life, which is a whole other bag that you could dissect. What we do know from other players, when you look at that room in San Jose, and when he first got there, like, Big Joe's still there, Pavelski's still there, Couture, now the captain, is there, Burns. And I know people think, well, it's only a strong room if you win a cup. That team has been a good core of guys, and guys like going to San Jose over the years, Erik Karlsson and the like. When you hear a group like that, like, no one in that whole room was willing to come to bat for this guy at all. Like, Logan Couture, the Athletic guys down there went to him to kind of ask him his opinion on it. Like, he wouldn't even offer a statement. And I think that just speaks very, very loud volumes. And I know there were rumors that my Caps were sniffing around him. I'm thankful that they didn't do this, because secondary scoring, like, you go find that somewhere else. And what they really need is a goalie. You're right, Brooksy. I don't know how the hell to fix Edmonton. And if they end up in the lottery again, geez, they should just fold. I don't know. Like, it's embarrassing.
But as Evander Kane, guys, is it like a Moneyball move? When I use that Moneyball type term, where it's a guy left on a scrap heap that you believe, as you say, has the talent, and you're looking at what now, 4 months, 5 months, if you can put together a run here of 5-6 months to get to the Stanley Cup, like, or get at least into the hunt to get into the playoffs to get you there, right? Like, is it a value move, short-term gain, hopefully not much misery if it can be worked out that way, right? Like,
and I don't know the answer to this, and Ryan, you probably will, because you're the guy that knows everything. But when's the last time this has worked? Bringing in a guy, a malcontent, a guy who doesn't seem to get along with teammates. When's the last time that has worked?
You know what? And I don't even know
in any sport.
So I don't know that this guy jumped right to the front of my brain, and it was kind of for a different reason. And I don't know. I know there were a few scrapes with teammates on other teams, but I don't know that it was necessarily a thing where this guy in particular that I'm thinking of had a lot of beef with teammates and everything, but certainly had a lot of personal off-ice issues that he later detailed after a lot of success. But I look back and think of a guy like Darren McCarty, who, like, let's be honest, this guy was almost an afterthought. Like, no team wanted to touch this guy. And then they brought him into that room in Detroit. And boy, he turned into, like, that checking line that Detroit had with McCarty. Who else was on that line with Darren McCarty? I'm trying to think of the guy that
Chris Draper
and Maltby. I was trying to think of the guy that Claude Lemieux almost killed on the ice. It was Draper, Maltby, McCart. That was a lethal fourth line, like one of the best fourth lines I've ever watched. And he had a lot of off-ice issues, of course, detailed later a lot of the alcohol abuse that he went through and everything, but like no team wanted to touch this guy, and he completely turned his career around. That's a guy that jumped to front of mind. I know Evander Kane's got a lot of different issues.
And different type of player too.
And a very different type player. This guy's supposed to be a first or second line left winger. Yeah. I don't know.
Wasn't Igor Radulov a guy we could think of? Like, didn't he have a lot of bad kind of?
Oh, Alex Radulov, absolutely. This guy
Alex Radulov, sorry.
He didn't have a sterling reputation at all when he left Nashville. Barry Trotz, Barry Trotz, a Stanley Cup winner. He couldn't stand this guy at all.
You know, in Dallas, he goes to Dallas and seemed to fit right in. And then, you know,
Montreal too. He was great in Montreal. Yeah.
I think in this case for Edmonton, to your guys' point, what do you got to lose at this point? You're not in the playoffs.
I mean, not much.
Your Stars are frustrated. Your media is apparently frustrated because the Stars in the media fight.
Yeah.
Maybe what this does is takes the heat off of what's going on there and puts it, a focus on Evander Kane for a little while. And
yeah, it definitely shifts the focus. There's no question about that. And I think you made a great point. Maybe this can open up someone to trade for a goalie, because without a goalie, they're not going anywhere. There's no question about it.
Oh, for sure.
I would throw them Marner and Mrazek if we can get McDavid back. I would give, I'd give Mrazek.
Well, hey, Clarky, if that's what you want, why don't you log on to your Xbox and turn on NHL 22, turn trade difficulty down to easy.
Okay.
And force that through, and you live out your fantasy. Live your best life, Clarky. Live your best life. I'm glad I kind of like that you brought up.
Hold on, Ryan Brooksy wants to
I watched it last night.
It's interesting though that Clarky brought up Mrazek, because that might be something. You flip Mrazek to Edmonton for a pick, and if you can get a pick back that's a decent pick, you could use that pick to flip with something else to get that piece that you think you want to add on defense or whatever it is. Yeah, right. If Ben Sherratt's the guy.
Three-way trade. Hey, we don't see them often in the NHL, but that's crazier things have happened. Absolutely. It's interesting, and I don't know. I really I have no disdain for Evander Kane. I've been entertained by watching him play before, and I remember when he was a rookie in Atlanta and everything, and there's so much promise. I think everybody would probably like to see this turn into a good story, a McCarty-esque story, if you will. And that, I think that you're right. There's nothing to lose really here other than the PR backlash, which is already so bad. So is there anything to lose in that respect too? I think that's probably Ken Holland's thinking. What if he comes here and if he can't screw his head on straight with an opportunity to play with the best and maybe second best, arguably, player in the world, then we loaded a bullet into the gun that didn't fire. I mean, that's probably their thinking.
Well, here's what I'd say to you too, though. Like, I'm Ken Holland, and I'm sitting down with Dave Tippett. I'm probably bringing McDavid into the meeting. Mm-hmm. You know, I might bring Draisaitl in the meeting. I'll have Nurse maybe in the meeting, and our boy from Hyman, and bring that kind of leadership group into a meeting and just say, look, here's what I'm thinking. We got an opportunity to add a guy. What are your thoughts? Because if you were talking about Junior, I would do that. I would have had my core in there and say, look, this is a player we're going to add, or we could add. What are your guys' thoughts? Like, do you guys feel it's a good fit? And, you know, for the Oilers who need something, maybe they did that. Maybe they talked about it as a group. Maybe they didn't. Maybe Ken Holland just said, screw you all, and did it. But you got to believe that Clarky, to your point, you've got to appease Connor McDavid a little bit here, because at some point he's going to say, bye-bye, Edmonton.
Yeah.
Wayne left. Anybody can leave.
Yeah. Very well
absolutely.
said. Very well said.
And how do you know, and I hate comparing basketball and hockey, but when the Raptors won a championship, they traded their best player away to get a better player. And
took a gamble too.
It worked, but it worked. It was a one-hit wonder. It was a one-year thing, but I don't think any Raptor fan would trade what they did for, they won a championship. That's the name of the game. Win a championship.
Yeah, you don't trade championships for anything. no matter how much you like a guy. And DeMar is well liked, and he was in the MVP conversation this year. But hey, no Raptors fan is giving that 2019 title back, especially given who they beat. Brooksy, we love chatting with you. We absolutely got to get together and watch a game. Clarky, I love that idea. We'll learn the ABCs of coaching while we watch the Leafs struggle in the third period. A is for adjustment. A is for adjustment. I don't know how many times we said that. Maybe producer Adam can put an adjustment counter clock up on the episode. Brooksy, we appreciate this, brother. It's so great to see you. Stay well, and we'll have you on again soon. Hopefully, the Leafs are playing better when we do that.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
We appreciate you, my friend. All right, we'll take a quick break, and when Clarky and I come back, oh my goodness.
What are we doing, Ryan? What are we doing?
I'm going to go off. The baseball writers have screwed it up again. Imagine that. It's embarrassing. The Hall of Fame vote comes out. We're going to talk about that and some of the issues that I really have with that Hall of Fame process. Next here on Instigating with Clarky and Jury, brought to you by CoolBet, the Listowel Squash Courts, and our friends at See the Game and Listowel Vision Care. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarky and Drury, brought to you by our friends at CoolBet, the Listowel Squash Courts, and of course our friends at See the Game and Listowel Vision Care. And Clarky counting me and making sure that I do not say anything extra. Yes.
So I got in a little like Jenna mentioned to me that maybe I shouldn't have called her out on the show, but I don't think I really called her out on the show. She goes, I was out on the show. Exactly. I was just pointing it out. Anyway, I'm doing it again.
Jenna, we apologize.
Okay, and it's all good.
You know, if you want to come on the show and air out grievances with your father, we will allow that. All right. Yeah. Now, speaking of airing grievances,
hang on.
Okay, you go ahead.
I know where you want to go, but we have one more hockey topic before you go down this road.
Oh, this is a surprise to me. Go ahead.
It is, and I'm going to say one word, and I want you to go. Okay. Arizona Coyotes. 2 words.
It might as well all be one word. And
So tell the news today.
Do it anymore. I can't do this anymore, Clarky.
Tell the news today. So they want to go play.
I hate that you've done
this. University. In the university, is that where they want to play?
They want
university gym.
Apparently,
is it a gym? It's a 5,000 seat arena.
It's a very nice OHL rink. I'll say that.
I'm sure.
It's a very nice OHL rink.
How can the NHL allow this to happen? Just move the franchise, get the fee for the transfer, make a couple $100 million, and move on. This is ridiculous.
The pizza guy has got to close up the box and send the pepperoni out the door here. It's the cheese is not melting down there. It's a joke. Basically, because the deal fell through to try and get this thing going with a new arena in Tempe. And of course. They want to delay and try and get a new deal somewhere else. And obviously we know their lease at Gila River Arena is up after this season, so they have nowhere to play. What they want to do, what they're proposing, is playing at the 5,000 seat Arizona State University hockey thing because they have a new D1 hockey program. They want to play in there.
Brilliant.
NHL
team. Want to play in there. 5,000 seats.
There's 16 suites. Just for reference, Scotiabank has 60. 60. And
I wonder how many of they sold.
16.
They probably wouldn't even be able to sell that out.
No, are you kidding me? Have you seen the pictures of the stands?
I mean, the Leaf game was there, but three-quarters of the crowd were Leaf fans. They had Leaf jerseys on.
I can't do this. I agree with everything you just said. They have to move this franchise. I can't do this anymore. The revenue sharing is going to be. How can other owners look at this and go 5,000 seats? You're going to be even more short. No, I can't do this. I just can't do it.
Okay, move on.
Arizona, I can't do it. Okay. Let's move on to something that, I almost can't do this either. Clarky, I said something to my girlfriend the other day that, and I think this would surprise you too. We've known each other a long time now, and a couple of years ago, this statement would have shocked you coming out of my mouth. I looked at her the other day. Caps haven't been playing too well. My Patriots got their ass kicked in the playoffs, and I was feeling a little down. Yeah, perfect game. And I looked at my girlfriend and I said, I never thought I would say this, but I really miss baseball. And now I don't miss it as much. because the other day the Hall of Fame voting results came out and one guy got in. And I agree that David Ortiz, Big Papi, absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, particularly for his exploits toward the end of his career. One of the great clutch playoff hitters ever. And yes, he's marred in some steroid scandal as well. Sure, there were rumors about that, but Big Papi gets in his first year of eligibility, and we no longer have Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and the like on the ballot anymore. That doesn't mean they can't eventually get in, but it's a harder process. And I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of it. And Ortiz himself came out and said, I don't think we'll ever see another human being do what Barry Bonds did. Now, yes, immediately the steroid jokes start. Yeah, his head exploded. His head looked like a soccer ball by the end of his career. But, and say what you want about the Rocket, but listen, baseball, I have learned, and I always knew this. I mean, it's not like I didn't pay attention to baseball, is the most, and Clarky, you tell me if you agree with this statement. Baseball is the most holier than thou, guardrails up sport of all the North American sports. They are just so up their own rear ends about the tradition and talking about integrity of our sport and integrity of the game. But all we ever see from people that yammer on about that, owners and commissioners, Rob Manfred, what an idiot, and the baseball writers. These are the most holier than thou people of all time. The integrity of the game. The people that are saying these things are some of the least integrity having people I've ever seen. We're talking about a sport, integrity? We're talking about a sport that got taken to the district court, almost the Supreme Court, where a president in the 90s, after that happened in the 80s, had to come out and demand that they start playing again. And they lost a postseason. Ask Montreal Expos fans how they feel about 1994. In the 80s, the owners got taken to court and found guilty of colluding for not wanting to pay the players properly. And we're also talking about a sport where their office knew guys were cheating, knew they were taking steroids, and did nothing to stop it because it turned into a spectacle and they wanted to watch Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa race to 70 after that lockout. They were all over Baseball America, all over the cover. They loved it then. They loved Mark McGwire and Barry Bonds and all those guys then,
sure,
and Roger Clemens. But now, because Barry Bonds was mean to reporter, he was short, he not a nice guy to talk to. Can't have him in there. I understand, and I really like what Jeff Passan, who's one of my favorites out there from ESPN, tweeted the other day. When you go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, which I've never been to Cooperstown, I'm going. When you go there, there's a plaque as you enter the room with all the guys' plaques that have been enshrined. And it says at the bottom that the main mission of the Baseball Hall of Fame is to preserve and tell the story of America's favorite pastime. And the steroid era, for better or worse, some would say worse, is part of the story. And it's not just on the players that did it and cheated. Yes, they enhanced their performance. It's on owners too. And it's on the commissioners who knew that this was all happening. And made a ton of money off of it. Wasn't a problem then. Integrity never came into it then because we were selling out stadiums to watch Barry Bonds break the home run record. It is embarrassing to me that they can't put these guys in the Hall of Fame where they belong, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how juiced you are on steroids. You still have to have an eye and be able to hit that ball. And you could make a real argument that nobody hit the ball better than Barry Bonds. Do you know how many times Barry Bonds was intentionally walked, Clarky, with the bases loaded? Let me say that again.
I heard you.
Barry Bonds was walked double-digit times with the bases loaded. He was walked in a playoff game with the bases loaded.
I didn't know that.
That's how unbelievably intimidating this guy was as a hitter.
Yeah, he was on steroids.
It wasn't just because he was on steroids. It's because he could see the ball unbelievably. And let's be honest here, and this is where I'll turn it and get a little angry at guys like Barry. He would have been a Hall of Famer without the steroids if he didn't hit the 700 plus home runs and break the record with an asterisk next to it. He still would have made the Hall of Fame. Because when he was fielding before he was a designated hitter, he was an unbelievable player. Roger Clemens, unbelievable pitcher. It doesn't matter how hard you can throw the ball if you can't put it right in the right spot and get guys to whiff. The all-time, you walk in to the NHL Hall of Fame. Who's the all-time leader in NHL points, Clarky? I know you're bad at trivia, but let me just throw you an easy one. Who's the all-time leader in NHL points?
I think it's Wayne Gretzky.
It is Wayne Gretzky. And guess what? You can see him in the Hall of Fame. Now,
Yeah.
he didn't cheat. I understand this.
Yeah.
He's in the Hall of Fame. The all-time leader in goalie wins.
He didn't.
His
cheat,
name's
though.
Martin
You said it.
Brodeur. He's in the Hall of Fame. You can see his plaque in there.
Yeah.
There's lots of guys in hockey history, as an example, that have done pretty shady stuff. Eddie Shore's in the Hall of Fame. Our friend Sean Fitzgerald was on here a couple weeks ago detailing what a psychopath you can read about that he was. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Hey, we have trophies named after people who had a checkered past too.
We have trophies named after people that were don't deserve to have their names on trophies.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
They got to be on there though. Yep, got to keep those on there. It's embarrassing.
Those guys are just, and I get it. Those guys have just been labeled as the two guys that the baseball writers were going to screw over.
Well, then
frankly,
they have failed in their duty.
I don't dispute that. I have been to the Baseball Hall of Fame. A friend of mine was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I went there and watched his widow, Shirley Cheek, Tom Cheek, being inducted, and I watched the speech, and it was an incredible place to be on induction weekend. And I did go through the Hall of Fame, and it's the best of the best in there, right? It's the best of the best. And yeah, Tom went in as a broadcaster. I think that
one of the best,
right? And if you just look at their numbers, they deserve to be in there. And there's a lot of other guys who did way worse things than Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds that are in the Hall of Fame. And there's no question their numbers, they deserve to be in there. No question.
I'm sorry. I don't like the guy and I don't agree with anything he says. Curt Schilling is a Hall of Famer. Barry Bonds is not a very likable guy. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You can put this in there.
Go in the Hall of Fame if you're a nice person or not. You shouldn't go in there. There isn't a test for that. There shouldn't be anyway. But the writers are just...
It's part of the history of preserving the game. And they have failed to do that. And they're so up their own rear ends and the big
So
ego,
what's the answer, Ryan? What's the answer?
Put them in the Hall of Fame.
No, but okay. So that's fine. You say that.
They need
the answer is should there be just a straight statistical threshold that you have to be over to get into the Hall of Fame? Like, how can they get away from voting?
They have to take a significant amount of power away from the Baseball Writers Association of America and still allow them to be part of the voting process, but they need to involve former players.
No, I totally agree. Like the Hockey Hall of Fame has a committee, the Hall of Fame committee, and it's not made up of writers. Now, there may be a writer in there. I don't know who's on the committee, but
it's embarrassing that the writers have all the power.
I totally agree with you. There's a lot of a-hole writers out there too that shouldn't be doing anything.
This should not be a popularity contest. That's a part of it.
No, I know. No, you're
star
absolutely
players
right.
are popular because they're the best.
You're absolutely right.
It's a joke, and I'm fed up with this.
I totally agree. Those guys should be in there. Okay, there's no question about it. But I was the brunt of some a-hole baseball players.
I know, and I'm just like, I can see where they're coming from, but it's not right. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'm like, I understand.
You know who? Like, there's a baseball player who he was my hero growing up. I had a Dave Stieb shirt that I wore proudly. And one day I approached him in the Blue Jay clubhouse when I worked for the team or worked for the radio network. And he treated me like a piece of dirt. And I'll never forget it.
Yeah. And that sucks.
And it does suck. Now, I don't vote for the Hall of Fame. And I don't vote for the Blue Jays Ring of Excellence. But you know what? He's up there. He's on the Ring of Excellence. And he treated a lot of, what my point is, he treated a lot of people poorly in his tenure with the Blue Jays. But he's on the Ring of Excellence because he should be. He was an amazing his slider was the best slider I've seen since him. Like, he had the most amazing. This guy was an outfielder turned into a pitcher.
He was a freak. He was an unbelievable player. You know? And again, you don't have to write on these guys' plaques bad guy or something, but you can write on there to preserve the history of the game and the steroid era to the fault of everyone in the game. Is a part of the history of the game. And it is embarrassing that you can walk today. This is the final thing I'll say before we're joined by our friend Jake Bolenmoss from Coolbet. You can walk into the Hall of Fame of baseball today and you will not find the all-time leader in hits, the all-time leader in home runs statistically, and the all-time leader in Cy Youngs.
Two with the Jays, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it back-to-back with the Jays?
Back-to-back.
Yeah. Oh, he was dominant.
I'm sorry.
I met Roger. I've met Roger.
The writers are losers.
And I don't misremember this. I actually remember meeting Roger Clemens, and I got a jersey. I got a Roger Clemens signed jersey after his 4th Cy Young Award in my basement.
Incredible. That's incredible.
We should start doing show and tell again.
We should start doing show and tell again. I agree. There's lots of treasures.
We're going to start.
But listen, not all of them are, but these people, the baseball, right? They have taken this power and responsibility that the sport has allowed them and gone too far. And I don't agree. Just for reference, one last thing. Ortiz, all-time WAR. I know WAR is a big thing now. Wins above replacement for the layperson. David Ortiz, all-time, 182nd. Way, way back of some great players ahead of him.
Yeah, but let's not penalize David Ortiz for getting the Hall of Fame.
He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, particularly for his playoff performances.
Oh yeah, no, he's a
go on YouTube and you can find
that's the thing though, that's of him. So hypocritical. This guy was on steroids too,
allegedly.
Well,
allegedly, yes, he was. Allegedly, he was.
Anyway,
it's a joke. Okay, we'll take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to talk with Jake Bolenmoss of Coolbet about Championship Sunday. It's going to be unbelievable. The NFL playoffs last weekend were unreal.
Who did the Bills play? Oh, wait a minute.
Who did the Bills play? Wide right, baby. Hit play on that.
They have the Sabres.
Dark guy. Okay. They have the Sabres. They'll be fine. All right, we'll talk about that next with Jake Bolenmoss of Coolbet here on Instigating. Back to wrap things up here on Instigating with Clarky and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Coolbet, the Listowel Squash Courts, and our friends at See the Game and Listowel Vision Care. Ryan Drury here, still alongside Clarky. We thank our friend Jason Brooks for joining us on the show today, and we're now pleased to be joined by the man with a plan for your bets. It's Jake Bolenmoss from Coolbet, and buddy, that last weekend of NFL playoffs, I mean, I know it's recency bias. I think that might have been the best divisional round we have certainly I've ever seen. What were your thoughts on that? What a weekend of football.
Yeah, definitely the right time to be in on the game of football. Unbelievable divisional round. Every game comes down to a final score. Just chaos everywhere. Probably 4 of the best games you could have put in one weekend. I don't think I'd argue with you there. Definitely the best divisional round I've seen. Crazy, insane.
How crazy was that Buffalo Kansas City finish? Like, I mean, just like betting wise, like, did you see
13
a lot
seconds?
Like, it was crazy though. The last, like, how many points in the last couple of minutes of that game? I've never seen anything like it.
I could not believe it myself. I had the over, so obviously I was pretty happy with how it went. But I also hammered KC, my big bet bailout of the weekend. I had KC money line, and I was just back and forth craziness. I remember I did a little video. I was watching the first Buffalo touchdown in the final 2 minutes, and I just said, okay, too much time. And then KC comes back, and I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, okay, that's too much time. I think it was 1:02 at that point. Buffalo drives all the way down, scores again. I'm looking at 13 seconds. I'm like, there goes my bet. Big bailout of the weekend. They make the 2 seam passes. Hill, Kelsey, get in range. Unbelievable. I don't know. Big controversy on the OT rules, but we'll see.
Well, what are your thoughts? I know it's not betting. I know it's not betting related, but what are you guys' thoughts on that?
It's valid. Jake, go ahead. Yeah. What should they change the rule?
Definitely think both teams deserve to touch the ball. My biggest concern about the OT rules is player safety. Like I know it sounds like I'm vouching for the league, but I think the college rules are a little too concerning when it comes to how much more playing. Like some people want a full another quarter of football. As much as that would be a blast, it's too dangerous. I think these guys are like the fastest humans on earth, the most powerful humans on earth. People get hurt all the time. I don't know if another quarter of football is the answer. Both teams need to see the ball, though, at least.
I agree with that. Both teams should see the ball. What I'll say quickly, though, is in this instance, I know Buffalo fans are griping. Everyone knew the rules going in.
And then don't call tails.
Don't call tails. You had the number 1 defense with 13 seconds. You have got to make a play. Okay. Absolutely. And it was the same thing when my Pats came back from 28-3 against the Falcons. Atlanta fans, and I felt bad for them, even as a Patriots fan. It's the rule's a joke. Don't blow a 25-point lead.
Mm-hmm. So that's what happened a couple years ago, right? With Pats again and KC, and
Pats
Mahomes
KC
get a chance to touch the ball, and everyone, and everyone complains, and it's like, well, guys, like KC's now on the other side of it. They're not complaining. The Chiefs fans are happy about what happened. I think the one thing I was thinking, and I know we had some stuff to get to here. The one thing I was thinking was you go down the field, you score a touchdown, say you have the option, right? Kick the extra point or 2-point. And then I think what you could do is the team gets a chance to respond. So their offense goes down the field. If they score a touchdown, I think they got to go for a 2-point. So say the one team kicks the extra point, that decides the game right there. And then it's like, well, then what are you going to say? Well, it was decided on 2-point conversion. No, I mean, their defense had a chance to stop. Your defense had a chance to stop. If you can't get the 2-point conversion at that point, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure the NFL will come up with something, but I imagine this is going to be the year based on the outrage that people have had.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I like that suggestion. Let's talk about championship weekend. It's going to be unbelievable. Let's start in the NFC. The Niners coming off just an excellent defensive smackdown of Aaron Rodgers at the frozen tundra. Might be the last time we see him in a Packers uniform, but it doesn't matter because the Niners were great. Bosa was scaring people all game long, and Jimmy G did not lose the game for them. Kittle was great. Now they're going to take on their divisional rivals in the Rams. I still like the Rams. I think they're the deeper team, and I think Aaron Donald might be the difference. What are your thoughts on the NFC Championship?
Oh, I don't know. It definitely feels like the Rams are due against this Niners team, right? I know that's not always the best way to look at things that a team's due. 6-0, I think Jimmy is his career against the Rams. 2-0 this season. So it just feels like Shanahan, though. He has McVay's number for whatever reason. This run defense is supposed to be top of the league. I think they ran the ball kind of all over them last time they met. I don't know. When you talk about a Niners team that does have experience going to the Super Bowl, we saw it a couple years ago, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about that Niners team. And I mean, Jimmy is an overthrow away, really, from almost a Super Bowl championship. They end up losing to Mahomes and the Chiefs. Oh, I don't know. 3.5, I believe, is the number. Hard to not take the Niners in that spot personally. I think it could be a one score. You got the hook there, but maybe that's what the books want us to do. Maybe this is the moment for the Rams. They pull it off. I lean Niners because of the history, but hard to see. How many times is McVay going to lose to Shanahan?
That's the thing. I mean, all good things must come to an end. I will be taking Rams to cover. and I'm going to take the money line as well. I really believe that this is the Rams. They are all in. Let's look at the other side, the AFC, and it's the upstart, cocky, young quarterback at LSU, Joey Burrow, throwing darts all over the field, coming up against the king himself of the AFC. It's Patrick Mahomes, right back where we all figured he'd be when they were, 2-4? It's unbelievable. This is going to be a shootout. Hammer the over, I think we can all agree, and maybe take KC money line.
I was just going to say, if you're not on the over for this game, you don't like having fun. I don't know how you don't bet the over in this game. Gunslingers are just ripping apart this KC defense. We saw it last week, and I know a lot of the points came late, but Gunslingers can score on this defense. Mahomes, we know he can keep up with anybody. I think he's proved that over the last 3 years. Definitely taking the over. I'm not even going to blink on that one. Then you can set the number wherever you want. Set it at 60. I'll take it. I don't know. Like, whatever. You have to bet the over here. I don't know. I was looking at some trends, just Mahomes' career. Obviously, it's still a very short career. 8-2 straight up in the playoffs, 7-3 against the spread. I think the number 7, it seems like a lot of points for an AFC championship, but we saw the pressure on Burrow last week, 9 sacks. How they managed to win that game, I have no idea. I think he could get some pressure on him, but like we've seen, he's been able to persevere. Probably one of the toughest guys in the league when it comes to quarterbacking. I don't know. Hard to I just see a number like that, and it almost makes me lean favorite because of the circumstance of the game. How can we be seeing such a big spread in such a crucial game? I mean, we're talking about elimination here, AFC Championship. So that makes me lean favorite, but I don't know. It's Burrow's just got that swagger. Joey Burr, they're calling him.
Joey Burr, indeed. It's going to be electric no matter what happens. Jake Bolamas, we appreciate your insight again from our friends at CoolBet, and I can't wait to break down potential Super Bowl matchups with you a week from now. Jake, thanks for doing this as always, my friend. It's going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, guys, remember, you can find us on our YouTube channel, and this show airs every Friday night at 8, Sunday night at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV. You can find us on all the best podcast apps, including Spotify and Apple, and you can also follow us on social media at Instigating Pod. I'm Ryan Drury. That's Clarky. That's our friend Jake Bolamas from CoolBet. We appreciate you listening to Instigating with Clarky and Drury. We'll be back next week.